Good morning. Just got back from church. And while I was at church, I was thinking about something. Yesterday I spoke a little bit about being retired. And today I was thinking about something in church which you may or may not be able to relate to. But when I was younger, I'm 68 now. So when I was in my early 50s, I got divorced after having been married 21 years. I got married kind of late in life. Well, when I would go to church and my kids were already gone off to college and wherever, so I would go to church by myself. And I used to sit there and I felt conspicuously alone. In a Catholic church, very often the pews are very long. Actually, in a lot of churches, they've got long pews. And, 6 to 10 or 12 people could be sitting in them. And sometimes I'd be sitting in a pew and nobody else would sit there. I didn't really even notice if there were other pews where there was only one person sitting. But I very much noticed that no one was sitting with me. I noticed that people were going to other pews and they weren't sitting in mine. And I interpreted that as, there's something wrong with me. There's something objectionable about me, like people are avoiding me. That's how I interpreted the situation, which actually was ridiculous, but at the time it seemed very real to me. And I guess I felt very excluded when in reality, nobody was deliberately excluding me. I was interpreting the situation like that. And I realized today when I was sitting in church that for years I've been going to church by myself. Every once in a while I'll go with my daughter and son-in-law and their kids. And, that's fine. But most of the time I go myself. And now my focus is on God and on the worship service. It was just so strange today to kind of remember that if I was the only one in the pew, that I would feel conspicuous, excluded, like something was wrong with me. I don't know, I think what it was, and this is where it relates to being retired, to being older. I'm, to a good degree, at peace with myself, with who I am. I don't give a hoot what other people think. I think when I was younger, I really did. I think it meant a lot more to me. I didn't realize how much more it meant to me, what people thought of me. But now, honestly and truly, if I'm sitting alone in a pew, and even if people are deliberately not sitting with me, I don't care. That's something that getting older does for you. A lot of the people things that used to make a big difference for you don't anymore. I think I see this as a very positive thing because I'm not looking to other people for their approval. I was reading this quote the other day. I get this motivation app thing that sends me inspirational quotes, and it said something like, if you live for the acceptance or approval of others, you will die from their rejection. And, I think that that's what was happening to me without even realizing it, during the time that I was divorced. Now, I will say this, and some of you might have experienced this yourself. I got divorced in, when would that have been? The early 2000s. And there actually were still people back then, and maybe there still are now, who did act a little funny, you know, because if I used to be invited to events, even if my husband couldn't come, because he was a physician, so very often, you know, he would be on a shift, or he was on night shift, so he was sleeping during the day, you know, things like that. I was still a married woman. But then, when I got divorced, suddenly some of my female friends became very protective of their husbands. You know, I felt like, gee whiz, I just got rid of one. I certainly don't want another one. But I guess, you know, I was treated as the divorcee by a few women, not a whole lot. And, you know, that was a little bit of exclusion because the way I was treated was different than I had been treated. But then there were some people who had a real appreciation for the fact that I was a little bit older. I mean, I was in my early 50s, and my kids were gone from home, and I didn't have a spouse, and they would make an effort to invite me to things so that I would not feel excluded. You know, so that was just really awesome. But, you know, it's just an observation that as you get older, whether or not people invite you or if they're saying things about you or what they say about you, I don't know, at least for me and a lot of my older friends, it just doesn't affect us that much. I don't know, there are things that become more important in life than the opinions of others. I once read this other quote. Well, it was something like the value of other people's opinions, that if you can't pay the rent with it, then it's not worth anything. But you know what I'm saying. I think my mother always used to say, to thine own self be true. Quote from Shakespeare. You know, and you have to be true to what you believe and follow your heart. And I feel that it's easier to do that now as I'm getting older. And it's very satisfying to me and comforting, too. Of course, my mother always used to say, truth is stranger than fiction. Oh, boy, as the longer I live, I'm finding that sure is true, too. Well, listen, I'm going to get about my business here. I just came back from spending 9 days house sitting at a farm, and I still need to finish unpacking and doing my laundry and cleaning my house and, you know, just putting things away and getting things in order for next week. So I hope that you have a good day. And I guess if I had to give any advice, I would say, yeah, that quote, if you live for the acceptance of others, you'll die from their rejection. To thine own self be true. God bless you.